What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Skull Network. My name is Nick, and welcome back to the weekly NFL pick segment on the channel. This marks week 9. We are officially more than halfway through the 2021 NFL season, and I finally came down to earth last week. The previous 3 weeks I had been absolutely killing it, and week 8 absolutely kicked my ass. But from what I've seen, a lot of people did very poorly, and I really don't even want to say out loud my record, so I'm just going to put it up on the screen. Yes, it was that bad. And I also don't want to even look at what my current overall record is now, so I'm going to put that up on the screen as well. All right, cool. As per usual, these are going to be the teams on bye this week, and let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the picks for week 9, and let's hope we can have a big rebound. All right, kicking things off, we have Thursday Night Football. Now, last Thursday night, I did finally take my first loss of Thursday night picks with the Packers and the Cardinals game. This week we have the Jets and the Colts. Now, Mike White obviously was the story of week 8, and as we know, Carson Wentz and the Colts failed to get it done in overtime against the Titans. And this one is one of those ones where I think a lot of people are going to be very split on this, but you got to remember the Colts are outside the top 20 in terms of passing defense, and clearly Mike White shown that he is able to lead that Jets offense very well. Michael Carter really showed up last week, and obviously there's still great parts of the Colts team. Aside from their pass defense, you know, Michael Pittman is emerging as a great wide receiver, and Carson Wentz is still playing well, still making some boneheaded mistakes, and personally, I think that's going to cost him. And while this still may be considered an upset, I'm going to be going with the New York Jets to win on Thursday Night Football. Moving over to Sunday, we're kicking it off with the Saints and the Falcons. Now, as we know, the Saints are going to be without Jameis Winston for the rest of the season, but the Falcons are also going to be without Calvin Ridley for who knows how long. And you know, you would have expected Kyle Pitts and other parts of that Falcons offense to blow up last week, especially against a poor Carolina team, and, well, that just really didn't happen. So I think this is a lot more even than I think a lot of people think, and yeah, the Saints are down major pieces, but I'd still think that Taysom Hill can get it done. Now, is he a super incredible quarterback? Absolutely not. We still have Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram is back, and I don't know. I don't like that the Falcons couldn't get it done against Carolina, considering how Carolina played now. 2 weeks ago, it was just abysmal. So with all that being said, I'm going to be picking New Orleans in this one. Up next, we have the Raiders and the Giants. Now, as we know, the Raiders have been going through a ton this season. Now with the Henry Ruggs news, and we're not going to talk about that on here, but you guys all probably share the same opinion I do. The Giants, they almost got it done against Kansas City like a lot of people thought they could. But let's be honest, the Raiders are still the much better team here. Yes, they'll obviously probably be without Henry Ruggs, but that offense is still, you know, full of weapons that could very much take advantage of just a overall, in general, poor Giants team. I think the Giants could keep this close for a little bit, but ultimately I do like the Raiders in this one. Up next, we have the Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, I know. The Vikings really did not show up very well against Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys last week on Sunday Night Football. And do I think that they have a super great chance of winning this game? Not necessarily. The Ravens are still as deadly as ever, but I'm not going to give up on my team. I think this is a bounce back week. I think everybody plays as we think they should. Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, all those guys. Is the defense about to be depleted and probably completely shredded by Lamar Jackson? Yeah, but I'm going to say that we win in a shootout, and the Minnesota Vikings will take this one. Up next, we have the Texans and the Dolphins, probably two of the worst teams in the league, neither of which are showing much promise. Now, at the time I'm recording this, I'm not sure if Tyrod Taylor is going to be back, but regardless, I don't like where either of these teams are going. But honestly, I just don't have that much faith in the Dolphins. I understand the Texans are not very good and got absolutely shredded by the Rams last week, but I don't know, something about the Dolphins just isn't sitting right with me, as it probably shouldn't, so I'm going to be taking the Houston Texans on this one. Up next, we have the Bills and the Jaguars. Yeah, the Bills struggled a little bit against Miami last week, but we got to remember, this is still the Jaguars. They still have all their usual issues, so I'm not going to talk any more about this. It's going to be the Bills winning this one. Up next, we have the Browns and the Bengals. Now, we all know how the Bengals fared against Mike White and the Jets last week. Now, obviously, that team didn't play up to par with what we know they can do, and the Browns really underperformed against the Steelers last week. Baker Mayfield just didn't look like his usual decent self. He looked like a very mediocre version of himself. And I do honestly think that the Bengals will be able to rebound here. I think they get back into shape, and I think they're going to take this one pretty easily in the battle of the Ohio teams. Up next, we have the Patriots and the Panthers. Now, yeah, the Panthers came back and, you know, kind of redeemed themselves from 2 weeks ago, having PJ Walker again having to play with the injury to Sam Darnold. But what a lot of people don't know is that the Patriots are one of like 4 or 5 teams that are ranked in the top 10 on both offense and defense this year. And honestly, I still don't like where Carolina is going. you know, it's not super impressive to say you beat the Falcons. And of course, the Patriots had a major statement win against the Chargers last week. I think they continue their major productivity streak this upcoming Sunday against Carolina. I think they're going to handle them pretty easily. Up next is the Broncos and the Cowboys. Now, at the time I'm recording, I'm not sure if Dak is going to play, but clearly it doesn't matter. And as we know, the Broncos just lost Von Miller, so that's a big piece on defense. And yeah, the Broncos were able to take care of business last week, but not against the most impressive team in the world. I do still like the Cowboys, even with Cooper Rush, oddly enough. So, I don't know. This one's kind of a toss-up. Of course, if Dak plays, it's going to be Dallas, but I think it's going to be a lot closer, but I still think Dallas will pull it off. Up next is the Chargers and the Eagles. Now, the Eagles went in and whooped ass, albeit against the Lions, but it's still impressive. Nonetheless, Jalen Hurts still not doing anything but putting up great numbers in fantasy. Regardless of that, the Chargers have now lost 2 in a row, and there is not a bone in my body that believes that this team can lose 3 games in a row. They have to bounce back at some point, and that might not be the best logic to go off of, but that's the logic I'm going to use this week. I think that the Chargers turn it around, get back to what we know they can do, and I'm going to be taking them over the Eagles. Up next is the Packers and the Chiefs. Now, the Packers proved me wrong last week going into Arizona and beating the Cardinals, and the Chiefs, yeah, they won against New York, but they, only won by 3. They're still struggling mightily. The same story from week to week. The Chiefs are not what they used to be. Patrick Mahomes is still a great quarterback, and I think a lot of people are losing that sight. But this is going to be the first game between Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, and it is sure to be a doozy. I don't know if Kansas City can quite get back on track enough to be able to compete with a 7-game winning streak that the Packers are on right now, and I hate to get back on this train, but I do think the Packers are going to come out with the victory in this one. Up next is the Cardinals and the 49ers. I think the Cardinals will get back on track. The 49ers, cool, you beat the Bears. Yeah, it's Justin Fields. It's honestly not very impressive to me. And Jimmy Garoppolo still is about an average quarterback at best. We all know the story with the Cardinals. I mean, as long as you're not thrown to A.J. Green with the game on the line, you're probably going to be faring pretty well. I think the Cardinals bounce back very expectedly here, and they're going to take out their division rival. Moving on to Sunday Night Football, we have 2 teams with very new looks now. The Rams obviously picking up Von Miller over the course of the week and losing Deshaun Jackson. And of course, we know the biggest story of the week with the Titans losing Derrick Henry. So it looks like it's going to be Jeremy McNichols because Adrian Peterson probably just won't be ready in time. So if you got a spot in fantasy and you are in need of a running back, go get Jeremy McNichols. But regardless, yeah, the Titans have been playing good football, but the Rams are still on just a different level than everyone else. Matt Stafford is probably the front runner from the MVP because he's just been the most consistent. I think he continues his dominant streak, and now the Rams defense is even better. That's pretty scary. So I think I'm going to be taking the St. Louis Rams on this one. And ending things off, we have probably one of the worst Monday Night Football matchups of the season so far with the Bears and the Steelers. Now, both of these teams majorly underperformed, but we did see some real good life from Justin Fields, which I think a lot of football fans were happy to see. Like, even if you're not a fan of the Bears, I kind of think you can't help but root for Justin Fields. And honestly, I don't know who I want to pick in this one, because obviously I don't want the Bears to win. They're division rival, but I don't think the Steelers are still great at all. So I'm going to go with the coin flip to end off this week's pick. The Bears will be heads, and the Steelers will be tails. Hey Google, flip a coin.
It's tails.
The coin landed on tails, so a little bit reluctantly, my pick for the week is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's going to end off this week's picks, everyone. If you thought any of these picks were great or you thought they were awful, regardless of your opinion, let me know in the comments down below and we'll have a conversation there. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the button down below to subscribe, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like as well. If you want to share this video with anyone, you can do that with anyone on any platform. And if it's a crack dealer on the corner, that's your guys' best option. You guys already know. My name is Nick, and I'll see you guys all in the recap between the Minnesota Vikings and the Baltimore Ravens coming out on Sunday. Adios.